That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over.
Welcome back. This is the TKW podcast. That is the Knicks podcast for first-time listeners. Mike Cortez here, joined by Kyle Maggio, Shaun Geddes. Guys, it's over. The fourth seed, the New York Knicks, 41 wins. Let's go!
I can't believe it.
I want to start with you, Kyle, since as the resident TKW OG, it's been a long path. There's been peaks and valleys, a lot of fucking valleys. So I just want to kick it off to you, man, because we've been through a lot. We saw a lot to get to this point. So where are you at right now?
Yeah, so we started this pod back with Anthony Corbo. We had a small team. We started back in 2016, 17 that was our first season with the pod. Anyway, the first season that we did the Knicks wall was the 2014-15 season before we had KP. So our first real official, build up was writing about, that very first tank, Langston Galloway coming up and playing well. And, we know the whole story for that season, but, we turned it from a dinky little blog into something that was a real publication, a real credentialed media. And we did that while they were bad. So, we're obviously proud of it here, but it's just fun now is the way to describe it. There was a lot of pods and, everybody was down on us for being negative, but it's the team was bad for so long. You know what I mean? And it's it gave us so many, just off topics and things that maybe we didn't always want to discuss. Why is this guy not playing well again? Why is this new draft pick not playing well or playing up to standards again? Did they miss on this guy again? Could they have signed this guy? Why didn't they meet with this guy? All these little things that we always had to hear about and deal with. And it's just nice that after all this time and really, not a lot of fun in terms of winning and watching the team win and the on-court product. It's a lot of fun now, man. This entire season has been worth it. Really and honestly, because it was unexpected. Had there been a build up, RJ was good year one, and you could start to see the pieces. It would have been equally good, but it would have felt a little bit different. This year was more euphoric in the sense that we all came in all right, here we go again. Let's see what happens. I guess we don't really know who we are. We have no identity. And it just feels like the weight has been lifted in a sense, and it doesn't mean we've accomplished anything because all we have done is make the playoffs. We haven't won a single game. We haven't played a single game, but it's just a lot of fun now. Basically is the way I could describe it. And it was always fun because it was our favorite team. It was the Knicks, but now it's fun in the sense of wow, we're not just, trying to get up and have fun every single day. It's easy to have fun. Every time I log in, there's a great stat to read, a great article to read, a great video, something praising the Knicks for something new every day. It's not even the same stuff you hear about somebody chasing a season-long accolade. It's just there's always a new random. Julius Randle's the first guy since Melo to do this. RJ Barrett did this. Now he's shooting 47% since this day. It's I don't even remember the last time I've seen true bad news. You know what I mean? And it's even the Alfred thing. The Alfred thing sucks, and they still won 41 games in a 72-game season to lock up home court. In spite of him and the weird opener situation that they use him in. It's if that was the worst of it, all things considered, we made out pretty good this season. You know what I mean? So, again, I don't want to just be happy to be here, guy, but in terms of this whole operation that we've been trying to do with the Knicks, it's just nice to finally be able to cover a winning, a competent, and a team we could be proud of, really, in almost every sense of the word this season. So just happy to be a part of it. Happy we got, a couple fresh faces for this run on this pod now with Shaun and Mike and Dom coming along. But I don't know, just fun. That's what it always comes back to for me now, is just everything's just so fun with this season. So I'm having a blast.
Yeah, this season, I mean, this is like a literal storybook season. And, you know, we were talking about it in the post-game prosperity, and I was like, yeah, sure, like, job not finished, of course. We haven't done anything. Like, we're moving, next focus is the playoffs. Like, of course, we're all there. But at the same time, like, you do have to just stop and appreciate the fact that we have somewhere to be when the season is over. Like, you know, normally the last game of the regular season, it's like, all right, you got these couple 10-day contract guys who are finishing this out, and you're going to watch them, you know, try to ruin rooting to ruin somebody else's playoff chances tonight, maybe, or like, you know, we're not going to be the team that lets you in. That's so we were losers. So, you know, we're like, we're not losers. And that's just really cool. And it's like really nice to just be able to appreciate that. 41 wins in a 72 game season is amazing. We were like number one in most defensive categories. We were top 3 in 3-point shooting. Like, we closed the season, like, we went 15-3 to end the year. Like, it's, I don't know. Julius Randle put together an all NBA campaign, MVP level season. Like, he clinched it today to average 24, 10, and 6, which is only done by like him and 3 others. And it was Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, Russell Westbrook, and I think the other person was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or something. Like, come on, bro. Like, it was just an unreal season. RJ shot 40% from 3 for the entire season, regardless of the slump. We didn't have to specify by certain things anymore. No, 40% from 3. And like you said, Alfred, that thing was frustrating, but we won 41 games despite that. So it's just, and this is like you know, when there was some bad headline that came up and they were like, oh, it's been this many days since Leon Rose took over as president. And like, you know, this is year 1 of Leon Rose. This is year 1 of this new regime. This is year 1 of Tom Thibodeau, who people said was a bad hire, who should be coach of the year. Like, it's year 1, and it's still not over. You know, we can still we're I think we're favored in our first round matchup. So the fact that we're even looking at the second, not only we were looking at home court, and now so we're looking at the second round, and it's like, you know, to be in the space we're in is just a really great thing, because, you know, this is an unfamiliar feeling. Like, I'm 26. I've seen us go to the playoffs like maybe 5 times, like, in my life. I mean, and in my real life, 'cause I saw the 99 finals and everything like that, you know, but after that, the couple mellow years and now. So this is just a beautiful thing. Like, it's really dope, and it's like life altering kind of, because the Knicks are so important to our lives. So like, we're no longer losers. Like, my basketball team, I grew up with my basketball team being losers. That was just horrible. It was painful, and I did it in Florida while the Heat were winning. It was the worst. So, and then, you know, the last year was my first year at TKW, and covering the games, it was great. I had a great time, but like, it was a lot of post game pouting. It was just a lot of pouting, a lot of sadness. I didn't want any of the people on the floor. Everybody was bothering me. Like, there was nothing to be happy about. And, you know, like, now we get to have all these feelings and celebrate these different things. So this has been a dream come true. This has been a great year. Like, so
I will never question your loyalty, Shaun. To be a Knicks fan while LeBron was in Miami, that's impressive stuff. But just to highlight the 41 wins, last 2 seasons combined, the Knicks won 38 games. So they won 41 with 10 less games, no less. And like Shaun said, I feel very good about the first round matchup and just the postseason in general, because the Knicks are a team that are just going to beat the shit out of you. And with that, I just want to get back into when we last left off. The Knicks were heading to LA with shit looking kind of bleak, where they got blown out twice. They go to the Clippers on Mother's Day. That was probably my favorite game of the season overall, just with the stakes and how it turned out. Even the loss to to the Lakers a few days later, same theme, where they were just beating the shit out of the star player and making everyone else beat them. And then to sweep at home, just the way they got the 4 seed, like they didn't fall ass backwards into it. That just made it a little more special, man, because it got to the point where, like, Phoenix, I wasn't down, but I was just like, okay, like, it might end up being Bucks in round 1. And that's not the best situation. But now you have home court, which is beyond any of our wildest dreams. And we're doing it with pretty much the same team from last year, just massive leaps, as Shaun said, storybook. It feels like all the karma from the last 8 years finally flipped sides, where even all those lucky bounces are starting to go our way. The leap years are going our way now. So now when people come to MSG, it's not to show out and flip water bottles. You got to lock in for 48 minutes. Otherwise you might get embarrassed. So it's it's fun to see how far we've come.
Yeah, and the Tibbs thing, where Shaun mentioned where people were really vehemently against the Tibbs hire, and I got to a point this last year, and I've said this for players, I've said this for executives. You guys have heard me use this phrase for like 3 years now. I don't care who they hired. Like, it didn't matter. Like, to me, like, if they hire Tibbs, what I'm trying to say is, like, I didn't care about the name. I just cared that whoever came in, I was just going to give a fair shot. Like, I don't care. I have no expectations for anybody at this point because we've hired guys who are supposedly good and tenured veteran coaches, and they've stunk. We've hired people who were new, fresh-faced coaches like Fizdale, and they've stunk. You couldn't phase me with the name anymore. We've had big name executive comes in. It doesn't matter to me. Names don't excite me. Leon Rose did not excite me. Tibbs did not excite me. I just wanted to see, what are you going to do? We know what Tibbs has done in the past, so I didn't really get the ill will. I thought at worst, the way that I approached the Tibbs thing was like, at worst, assuming he does most of what he's normally done, he's going to set some sort of a baseline. So even if you don't love him as a coach, I think he's a decent, like, step one coach. We've seen that in the NBA time and time again. One coach helps turn things around, does it 3, maybe 4 or 5 years sometimes, like Brett Brown with the Sixers, and then, okay, thank you. You got us this far. But we got to go with Doc Rivers now. We need to get a new coach, and that guy's going to take us to the next level. So I didn't know if it was that scenario or not, but I felt like that maybe was the worst case scenario in my head. I didn't think the season was going to be this successful. A lot of us didn't, but I thought he was going to set some kind of a baseline. They'd be somewhat better, and we'd have some kind of an identity. I didn't think it was going to be this strong, but I thought there'd be enough. So I just didn't get like the outright like hatred towards Tibbs being the coach. I just thought, give him a chance at least, man. Like, I mean, clearly he's a good coach. That was the other thing too. Like, clearly he gets results. Like, it's ugly sometimes, it's clunky. That's his style. That's always been his style. In Chicago, they would beat you up. With the Jimmy Butler Wolves teams, they weren't as gritty and physical, but like, those games weren't that easy either. Those were he had a good team, even if it was Wiggins being Wiggins and Cat maybe not being as tough as they wanted, whatever. But they still went to the playoffs. They still won a bunch more games than they had been previously. So it's like, wherever he goes, like, they do somewhat good. So I just figured he's going to do some kind of good here. I just don't know what level of good. It could be a low level. It could be a high level, like we have just now seen. But even the Leon Rose thing, I didn't think Leon did anything overly wild other than like hit on better kind of auxiliary signings. Whereas like Scott Perry kind of faltered with some of those. I mean, Reggie now looks excellent because I think he's healthy this season, like he probably wasn't last year. But those Randall and Reggie being Perry signings that panned out now, but hitting on Burks and hitting on some of these complimentary guys, like trading for Rose, obviously has been drastic because anybody know the record off the top of your head with Rose? Derrick Rose?
I want to say now it's 23-11.
That sounds right. I'll double check.
Yeah, I mean, double check. But I mean, either way, we knew they're basically, I forgot what it is. It's almost a 50-game pace. If it was an 82-game season, if Derrick Rose played the full season, something like that. Like, they're a very good team with him. So Leon's moves, just those complimentary type things, made a lot more sense and worked out. So there was, I don't know. I just think with this kind of stuff, you take it a day at a time with the signings. I don't think there's any reason to, when it's a front office person, a coaching staff, like I think you should never really get too high or too low is kind of my point. Like, players are a little bit easier to, like, you've seen them, you know what they're going to do more or less. Maybe you've seen them in different systems. You kind of know if you like a player or not, or if he's going to fit or not. With coaches and front office guys, like it really is solely up to what the results are. That's why I never get happy about them in the beginning. I'm happy now. Now I've seen the results. Now you can officially say you did a good job. To me, you don't get a pat on the back before anything happens when you're a new guy. But hey, I mean, they did a great job. And there's been a lot of eating crow for the Tibbs people. A lot of people got to walk it back. And I wasn't even mega pro Tibbs, but it's undeniably good at this point. Like it really strongly is undeniably good at this point. Like the defensive stats, they're first in like half the defensive stats, and if not, they're second, third. I mean, just take your pick, really, of what you want to praise them for. The only con is number 6.
Yeah, and just to add, they're 4th in defensive rating, 2nd in 3-point percentage, And like you just said, Tibbs laid that groundwork. He said, we're going to play defense, or we're going to shoot corner threes. And if you see where most of the 3-point attempts have come, it's been in the corners. RJ Barrett's found that sweet spot right in front of the Knicks bench. Reggie Bullock has just found a way to always end up in the corner, and he's hit a ton of big shots. Derrick Rose has hit a lot of threes. Frank, we're going to get to talk about Frank a little bit. He had a little bit of a revival from the West Coast and carrying over now. And yeah, so 23-11 with Rose, by the way. And also, while we're talking about Rose, I have to add, we've been pushing two agendas. Tom Thibodeau, Coach of the Year. Julius Randle, Most Improved. I want to add Derrick Rose, 6th Man of the Year. Am I crazy?
No,
Not at all.
no.
Not at all.
So Jordan Clarkson had the first half of the year, right?
Yeah.
This is the way I've looked at it. Jordan Clarkson had the first half of the year. And now I'm seeing on a lot of people's ballots that Joe Ingles has it, which I don't mean to make light of. I just want to speak on, because both those guys, for the season that the Jazz had, 100% would deserve it. Let's just keep it a buck. However, Derrick Rose has produced like a clear starter off the bench as well, not just with scoring, but his all-around game. And the record we just said speaks for itself. I don't think there's any reason he shouldn't at least be in that conversation. I think he should be a finalist for sure. I don't know if he's going to get it because he was a mid-season acquisition, which I don't hold against them. I just feel like sometimes media will, just because he didn't play whatever to start the season and whatever they want to say about it. But I think his play obviously warrants it. So whether he gets it or not, we'll see. But should be in the combo.
Yeah, so right now I'm looking at the odds. The top 5 or 6 guys. It's Clarkson, Ingles, as you mentioned, Jalen Brunson, Chris Boucher from the Raptors, Shake Milton, and Trez for the Lakers. So I think he definitely belongs in that group. Just because I know the numbers don't jump out, like he's only averaging 15 a game, but that's where you kind of have to add context, where the team literally took off once he arrived, and that second unit.
It's not just the offense too. It's the defense. I want to, because we only talk about offense with Derrick Rose all the time, and I've been trying to make it a point in every single podcast we've recorded this last month to talk about his defense, because his defense has been excellent. I still have not, because I'm lazy, looked at the activity stats of Derrick Rose, but I would venture to guess like his steals, blocks, like his overall defensive production is dramatically different since he's been a Knick, because he's been getting a lot of like deflections, even like little things in the passing lane. Like he's been a pretty damn good defender. Like people like to kind of like, oh, yeah, he's solid at defense. No, like if you actually have to look at the games, like he's hounding guys now. This isn't like the first time he was here, he would do that lazy, like Alfred, I'll chase you on a screen. Like I'm not really going to go hard through it. And that's why he frustrated people, because he would score a lot and then do that. But now he's just playing, he's in excellent shape, and he's just playing great defense.
He had a couple of highlight moments on the defensive end this season, like that block against the Pelicans to send it to OT. That whole Lakers game, he was single-handedly keeping the Knicks in it. He had a couple steals and just hounding him and Taj. Just the last stretch. And by the way, I'm very on board with Taj becoming our Udonis Haslem, where we just keep up the end of the bench and bring in when needed, because him and Rose coming in, they're becoming the first 2 off the bench now for Tibbs. I feel like that always checks the temperature of the game. Like if the Knicks are struggling, it comes back. If they're doing good, they kind of keep that momentum up. So those 2 have just been invaluable this year.
Yeah, Derrick Rose and Taj have been huge. Taj has definitely been able to just do kind of what we need him to do. Defend well, box out, rebound, provide a little bit off. He's finishing well around the basket, providing that mid-range jumper every once in a while. And Derrick Rose, I mean, yeah, he deserves to be in the 6th Man of the Year conversation, because it's the defense is incredible, the offense is good, and not only is he scoring, but like the efficiency is crazy too. Like he was shooting like 60% from the field and like 50% from 3 over a pretty solid stretch. Like it was a large enough sample size to be like, yo, this guy is hooping, and he was putting up like 19 points a game over that stretch. So, I just feel like all those things have to play into it. And like because if in Rookie of the Year, like LaMelo's probably gonna win Rookie of the Year, and I love LaMelo, but LaMelo missed like 2 months. So it's like if he can miss 2 months not playing basketball at all, then how come Derrick Rose's 2 months not being our 6th man disqualifies him from that? I don't think that should. I think he's been really impactful. I think that if Shake Milton could be on there, I think Derrick Rose can.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting because look, I think this is the first year the Knicks have had this many candidates for awards. To also keep it a buck with you, um, in years past we've had like, oh, Melo's the scoring champ and Tyson's defensive player of the year, but like that's kind of where the buck stopped. It was mostly like the player achievements and you know, this year you have Julius, who's NBA All-Star, who's going to win Most Improved Player. Those two are locks. I think you can guarantee those, right? On top of that, he's very likely going to get All NBA. I don't see how he wouldn't make a single team. So I feel about 95% confident that the media is not going to ruin this. I think a couple people, obviously, all ballots are going to be different. I don't expect everybody to have him on, but as long as he gets on at least on one, I'll be okay. But Julius might lock up like 3 things just by himself. Like that's already nuts. And then on top of that, you have Rose, who he's not going to win 6th man of the year. That's just my gut, but he should be in the conversation. The fact that we were even talking about it is something. Tibbs has a real shot at coach of the year. I would understand Monty getting it. I think that makes a lot of sense with the Suns being contenders. I don't want to take away from them, especially out west. But to me, I think the Knicks having the most dramatic turnaround. The reason for me with the Knicks, I think Tibbs gets it. This is my distinction. And Suns fans can yell at me, whatever. I give Tibbs the nod, and I'm biased, but he brought back like the same roster. Like it was a couple of draft picks, but it was like largely the same roster. And then like, I'm sorry, but the trade for Derrick Rose, you can look at my own tweet where I was just like, meh, I don't really know what this is going to do. I don't know if I believe in Derrick Rose right now, but whatever. Let's see what happens. It's better than Dennis Smith Jr. wasn't doing anything at this point. So let's just give it I wasn't that excited about it, but it's been pretty damn good, right? So it's like he's largely had the exact same guys. It's largely been the exact same thing they tried to do last year with Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and then figuring out an attack. And they just figured out how to do it better this year. And then a couple of the pieces, made more sense. So to me, Monty gets a ton of credit because the offense looked really good last year. They just weren't winning as many games, especially in the bubble. Some of the stuff that he was doing was, pretty exciting. And obviously they were on fire. But I think adding Chris Paul is kind of a big driver there. Like he's still an all-star. You know what I mean? He's still an all NBA level player. He was even in the MVP combo for some. Kind of a big deal. I mean, it's, you have Booker and also guys like Campaign came on really strong. Like, I don't know. I just, again, not to take away, I feel like Monty definitely could/should win. But to me, Tibbs just kind of like taking mostly the same Knicks roster that everyone laughed at last year and then making them like, this. And all the development that some of these players have done, Julius, RJ, Rose even turning into a defensive revelation, Noel turning into all NBA center off the bench after it looked like we might have an all defensive team center in Mitch already. I don't know. I go Tibbs, but I understand. I am also biased.
They really need to separate it into East and West for certain awards because it feels wrong that Thibodeau's not going to win. I'm looking at the odds right now. Monty's pretty much a lock. And then you have Tibbs right behind him. He passed Quinn Snyder, which I think in itself is impressive because the Jazz had such a great year. But yeah, it's going to be really tough for him to not walk away with a proper accolade for turning around a franchise that no one's been able to really turn around. I mean, Melo, the Mike Woodson year, I would credit more to just that was legit star power. Thibodeau did this with virtually none. Because Julius evolved into a star, he pretty much absorbed a roster that was projected to win 22 games.
He took a roster that the very same media that has to vote for this award called gutted and rudderless when the last coach was fired. So, your own words. So it's just like, if that's what it is, Chris Paul, listen, the Thunder had a 0.7% chance of going to the playoffs. And Chris Paul had them win damn near 50 games in the season that got cut short. And they got the 4 seed out west. So I knew that the Suns were going to be good. He made the Thunder good. He's Chris Paul. He raises the floor of a basketball team. Does Monty deserve credit? Of course, he's the coach. But Billy Donovan damn sure wasn't the coach of the year last year. It's just it's different. This is a gutted and rudderless roster that's projected to win 22 games, and he made us top on both sides of the ball in categories. He did exactly what he needed to carry out. Julius Randle, I feel like if you coach the most improved player, that should also help your case for coach of the year. Like, you coached the most improved player who had an MVP level season. RJ Barrett went from left off the all rookie team to being the second best player on a team with home court advantage in the playoffs. So it's just like, yeah, like all those awards are voted. Like the media, they're the same people that left RJ Barrett off. They're the same people that called it a gut and rid of this roster. So it's just like, based on your own words and based on your own standards, I don't really see how Tom Thibodeau isn't the coach of the year.
I will say this though, the even if they don't choose him for coach of the year, I do want to acknowledge the fact that the praise for Tibbs from media in general has been pretty consistent since like January in terms of, oh shit, the Knicks are for real. Like, at least this defense is nuts. Like, they've been giving him a lot of credit, like a lot of outlets, a lot of talking heads, like it, regardless of whatever happens with the actual voting. I feel like that's enough in terms of acknowledgement, at least for me. Like, if that's going to be the consolation, is just like everybody can't stop talking about how Tibbs set the foundation and the culture. Like, again, I we've had this convo once. I see a lot of fans get upset with the positive coverage, like the ESPN wasn't on our side. Guys, like, ESPN doesn't have sides, bro. ESPN has no sides. It's a nonsensical argument you guys are making to want ESPN to have been rooting for you or giving you rosy arguments while the team was bad. Don't give me the fingers, Mike. Because
one thing, Jorge Sedano's video, that was just like cringe beyond cringe.
Guys,
that was like
there's always a couple of extreme outlier type people, but my point is largely like there's been good and like press regarding the Knicks. Like, there's been a lot of Julius Randle I see Julius Randle on every account at this point. I see him on Bleacher Report, I see him on ESPN, I see him on StatMuse, I see him on ESPN Stats and Info. Every day I wake up, there's some new Julius Randle bit or segment, or somebody's talking about him for some award or some sort of distinction or honor. The same thing with Tibbs. They talk about his defense all the time, and I don't know. So I just feel like you got to this is what happens. They turned it around, they started winning, and now they're going to talk about them like they're good. It is what it is. This is good. Even if they don't win the awards, like, getting this much good press is a gigantic win. We argued forever, right? A lot of fans argued the bad coverage doesn't help them get free agents. It doesn't help make us attractive. Okay, well, they took care of that in 72 games now. So it's done. It's done. It's behind us. Okay. Like, people are saying nice things about us. It's good now. That's a good thing, actually, going into the offseason and the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the star players also giving us good press, whether it's a hookup, as Chris Paul said something, Kawhi and Paul George have all said similar things where it's like, yo, we got to show up against this team, and like this team has something building. And we haven't heard that since Amari was here when he first got here. And we saw what that turned into. I mean, albeit they screwed it up, but it got to the point where it was title contention was a realistic possibility for a brief moment. So good press is very helpful, especially when you have Worldwide West and Leon Rose at your disposal. Now they have something to bring to the table when they're in someone's ear versus trying to say, hey, you can help turn it around. You can already say, hey, we're turning it around. Why don't you jump on the uptick? So very important thing that people seem to miss. Enjoy that we're good, guys. Please.
Yeah, like it's okay to be good. It's okay to enjoy the team being good. And if the team is good, they're going to cover us for being good. Yes, they covered us excessively when we were bad. I think they made corny jokes. There's people like George Sedano. Yeah, they drove the net, but it's a large machine. We're a large market, so they drove more of the negative stuff in. And now, like, yeah, you see it everywhere because they have to. If you look weird if you're not doing it. You have to cover the Knicks, and all the stories are positive. They tried to throw a couple, distraction stories in at the point, tried to say, oh, every once in a while they spin. Max Kellerman is still like, he's like, oh, well, now, once we were good, it was like, oh, is the Knicks season a failure if they don't win the first round series? And it's just like, bro, like, stop moving the goalpost. Just say you were wrong. It's okay. But like, that's the outlier at this point. Like, it's okay for people to cover the team as a good team because we are a good team. Like, what do you want them to do? Still say we suck and then complain about that? Like, that you don't always have to have something to complain about. It's okay. Enjoy it. We're good. Allow us to be good and be excited. And remember, it also doesn't matter what they say. Like, I've been saying it all year. Like, okay, if the national media doesn't believe in us, it's okay. All playoff games are nationally televised. Like, let's just go to the playoffs.
Well, I mean, that's sort of why I like Randall's catchphrase this season, because it's very simple. We here. It's not an overarching sort of expectation. It's not something where you think, oh, he's trying to, oh, it's ring or bust. He's simply just saying, like, wherever we are right now, we are here. We were in the playoffs, in the thick of it, in the 6th seed. We're here right now. No one expected us to even get that far, right? So it's like them getting the 4th seed. All right, well, that's where we are now. We're here. So I expect the same thing in the play. It's a buttoned up approach. There's not a lot of talking. It's just Randall and RJ showing up with hard hats every day, trying to bully and bludgeon people into another W, as they did with the Celtics today against their B team, the JV team. Shaun said there's not much to complain about these days. This this game was probably the only thing. I don't know how they almost vomited that away. I don't even want to spend so much time talking about it. I almost just want to, note that it happened, and then we could just skip right to talking about the Hawks coming up, because yikes. They just looked like they were over it, bros. Like they just looked like they were like, all right, man, we think we locked up 4. Can we just get out of here and just focus on the Hawks? Like, that was the first time I felt like I saw them looking ahead for the first time.
It's hard to get up when you're facing Carson Edwards and I don't even know the guy's first name, Waters. They played well, but I'm saying it's hard to stay engaged when that's who you're facing, You just want to get to you're already thinking about, okay, we have home court, doing all this, but man, it was that second half, that fourth quarter was just rough to watch, man. And number 6 was particularly awful today. Just lazy. Even Clyde questioned why he was starting, and I feel like Clyde's patience with number 6 overall is just completely gone, and rightfully so. There was just that one play where even RJ said something because I forgot what the hell happened. I think he got blocked by Cornette for a second straight time, which I don't know what he was doing on both those attempts where he got swatted, but regardless, he jogs back down the other end of the court, leads to a wide open 3. And it's like, what are we doing here with this guy? Because I think Thibodeau's starting to realize it, but I have a feeling he's going to be like Keith Bogans was for I think it was the 2010-11 Bulls, where he started every game in the regular season for no reason, and he started every playoff game for no reason, bringing little value. So that's probably like the only red flag I have going into the postseason, because everyone else looks great. Obi, by the way, continues to look really strong in his minutes. I think the only players I don't want to, it's he just looks way more comfortable. He's not just floating around; he's cutting, and part of that's Rose and Gibson mentoring him and working with him and just being on the floor with him at all times. All this is gelling together at the right time, to the point where, as long as I'm not seeing Kevin Knox, Elf, and that's pretty much it. Everyone else can pretty much play. Those are like the only 2 guys I just don't want to see on the floor the rest of the way.
So let me ask you guys this. Well, first of all, on the Obi note, the comfortable point that Drew just brought up is the best one, because that pump fake off the Derrick Rose pass on the right wing with the step in for the bank shot was probably the most fluid thing that I've seen him do. Like, we've seen like the dunks and a couple of the good effort plays where he might miss, or he's putting something back in around the rim using his elite athleticism. But I love that, because that was sort of like the appeal of Obi, the sell of Obi, was he was one of the better and polished offensive players in this draft. And I think that's why when they took him initially, we had questions about why they would do that with Randall here. But seeing him do that off the bench right now is as we're heading to the playoffs, is a really, really welcome sight, because Tibbs, even when things were getting rough for Obi back in like January, early February, whenever it was, that bad stretch that he had before he started putting it together, Tibbs refused to take him out of the rotation the same way he's refused to do it with Alfred, so to our own detriment. It doesn't always win with Tibbs, but Obi just looks great, man. I love that move. I love how he's looked lately. Even just how confident he's been shooting the ball. Like, when he catches it, he's not even thinking about it. Beginning of the season, it was almost like he'd kind of play around with the ball a little bit. Like, he'd catch it and am I going to stay here? Am I going to dribble? What do I want to do? He's a rookie. It happens. But he just looked good. Very it's like the game is simplified for him right now. He's just catching the ball and all right, I'm gonna take a step in, bang. I'm gonna just shoot it right here, bang. I'm gonna just go to the rim. It's a really fun development, in a season with a lot of them.
Yeah, Obi has definitely been a lot of fun over this like last few weeks of the season because he just seems to get better and more comfortable every night. And like you said, that like the pump fake and pull up off the dribble, like off the glass, I was like, whoa, hold on, Obi, because it just was really, really smooth and fluid. And he just continues to look more comfortable. And then he was like handling the ball a little bit in the open court and tried to like, get in there, and he like used the left. He hung in the air a little bit. It didn't go in, but it was just I liked seeing it. And the same confidence he's shooting with. He's in the right spots defensively. Like he's not a liability. Honestly, Obi's not really a liability defensively at all, in my opinion. Like I watch, I don't ever see him like, oh, he's killing us right now. Like, so I mean, to see him get there already, and to see the improvement that he made from the beginning of the year, like it's just exciting to see what he can do in the playoffs. And then after the playoffs, like going into next season, with like what he comes back as after an off season. So that's been really dope to see. And as far as number 6, I mean, yeah, we all know how we all feel. That guy he's just, and it's crazy because I don't even say anything about it anymore. That's how I know, like, because there's nothing I have to say. During the games, I don't tweet about it. Like, I don't say most times. When he got blocked by Cornet, I LMAO'd because it was hilarious. Like, I just put a lot of A's and O's because it was just so funny because the first time, and then the second time he goes in there and he tries to dunk on him, and it's just like what are you doing? Like what are you doing? Like when's the last time you just came down lane and dunked on a 7-footer, bro? Like like why do you think that's something to do right now? Like I don't understand. And then it's like, if you're gonna try it on Luke it looks 10 times worse when you try it on Luke Cornet and get stuffed. Like that's crazy because it's just embarrassing. And then yeah, he went back and did the same. There's no like real effort. I really hope that he doesn't Keith Bogans us. Like because it's too loud. I feel like Alfred did us all a favor this last game by showing one last time how much he really doesn't care about being a starting point guard and about basketball. I don't think anybody with a jump shot that bad cares that much about basketball. I'm sorry. But yeah, like he showed us one last time. So hopefully in the playoffs, we don't have to sit through those minutes because it's just every single minute counts in the playoffs. Every quarter is a game. You can't waste any of those. He's not. It would be one thing if he was in those 14 minutes, like he was really like I feel like the wise thing to do if you want to keep that same structure going, you want to keep Rosen quickly coming off the bench, and like start the games off with Frank for the first 6 or 7 minutes. At least Frank is giving you elite defense and length to bother Trae Young and stay with him and get through the screens or something. If that's your angle, that makes sense. That's like Alfred, there's nothing that he provides that no one else provides. And not only is there nothing he provides that no one else provides, there's just nothing that he provides. He's not going to shoot it well. He's not. At one point, I was so mad because RJ had a mismatch in the post. He got the ball on the post, and as soon as he got the ball on the post, they doubled right off of Alfred. And I was like, well, and then Alfred was standing there, and RJ swung it to him, and Alfred got it in the middle, but you can't really do anything with it there either, so he kicked it out, and Reggie got it, and he was in the corner, so he kind of gave it back to Alfred because they double right, and Alfred was open. He's open, he's just still not an option. He can't really do anything with the ball, and it led to a turnover, so I don't know, but I've had enough of those, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the Obi minutes and what he can do. Looking forward to seeing playoff IQ. But yeah, I'm so fed up with number 6.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that they address that because the Hawks, we know they start and end with Trae Young, and if he gets off to a hot streak, like he did the last game they played, where I think he had 16 and 5 in the first 8 minutes of the game, they can't let him get off to those type of streaks. So I know Thibodeau's already been rolling back Elf's minutes. I think he's averaging like 16 minutes per game over his last 11. And I think the night before, I think Saturday, he only played 12 minutes. I forgot how many he played today. One too many, but you get the sense where it's Thibodeau's even starting to notice you got to dial it back.
So let me paint you guys a picture for my plan that I would like to do with the guard minutes against the Hawks, because I see a lot of stuff like, oh, well, if you want someone who's out there for defense, you might as well just start Frank Ntilikina. This isn't even Frank slander. I'm going to use him in this. I just wouldn't start him. So my thing is, Derrick Rose has to fucking start. Derrick Rose has to start. Don't talk to me about the defense thing, because Derrick Rose has been playing good defense since he's been a Knick. This second stint, right? So yes, it's Trae Young. No matter who you put on Trae Young, there's a chance that he's going to go off. So I just, for the starting purposes, I got to have Derrick Rose in there. And I don't feel like the bench skips a beat, because you need to trim your rotation, right? If Tibbs doesn't take out Alfred, that's a 10-man rotation. I was talking to Brian Giverman about this earlier during the game. It's a 10-man rotation. Against the Bulls, even when he bogans it, right? He had 9 guys in the rotation. You really like, why would Tom Thibodeau have 10 guys in this rotation because he refuses to take out Alfred for the 8 to 12 minutes a game that he needs to play? It makes no sense. You would think that he has to take him out. But I don't want to believe that because we just went through 72 entire games of that not happening. So it is what it is. But my point is, what I would do, I would start Rose. And then I would take Rose out just a little bit early into Trey's minutes. And then those last couple minutes before Trey goes for his first rest, Frank comes in, hounds him, picks him up full court, just go nuts. Just pick up a couple fouls, whatever you got to do, lay into him. I go nuts with Frank. And I try to do that every time to close out Trey's minutes, in the first half, first quarter, third quarter, like whatever it is, just keep pounding him with a couple of Frank minutes. Just keep sending him in there, pestering him, bothering him, because Frank actually has had some success on Trey too. Like, again, I'm not a Frank hater. It makes sense here. You just got to use him the right way, deploy him the right way. But I don't think we miss anything off the bench because Burks has played point guard off the bench, right? That's been a thing. He's played point Burks. He's been a playmaker. And on top of that, Quickly's back and healthy now, and he's going to have a couple games where he's on, and he could score. So if you're bringing Burks and Quickly off the bench with Frank as the defensive sort of 2 guard to kind of switch on to Trey, I think that's how you have a really effective set of guards against the Hawks, because I just don't know what else you would do. Like, what is the point of Alfred, right? Because the Hawks score a lot of points. So you already know your offense isn't going to be as good with Alfred, and you already know that he gets roasted when Alfred's guarding Trey Young, right? So like, if you're Tibbs, like you got to know this, right? Like, Tibbs is way smarter than all 3 of us put together. He knows more basketball than we forgot. Like, I'm not trying to be the fake smart guy, but like, because of that, he has to know. He just has to know. I want him to admit it after this is all over, but like, he just has to know. Like, he's right. But my guard minute play makes plenty of sense, I would assume. Does anybody disagree? What would you guys do?
I think that's exactly what it is. I'm not sure if he does it, but maybe the alternative, which we've mentioned before, put Burks up there. But I think the defense is where Rose has to get the nod in that situation, because the main thing that you liked from Rose in the second unit was mostly the offense, because when he came in, the offense was usually stagnant and he was finding people. But if you already have that ball movement going on to start, you just add spark plugs like Quickly and Burks along with Obi and Taj, and now that second unit can just pick up wherever they left off. And you just got to keep the pressure on Atlanta, because outside of Trey Young, what's the biggest thing you're worrying about? You're worrying about Capella killing you on the boards. You're worrying about John Collins, which I'm not worried. But, you got to keep the pressure on Trey Young. And I think Elf being an offensive void along with Noel, but Noel at least contributes on defense. Peyton's not contributing on anything. It's just dead minutes that you're kind of just putting yourself in the hole for no reason. I would rather use Frank more late in the fourth quarter and with the second unit, but that's pretty much it. I think you want to keep pressure on Trey Young and annoy him, because when he's off, he's off. And when he's on, he's pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah, no, number 6 can't get any of those minutes. It's a waste of time. Like you said, the rotation has to be trimmed down, and there's really nowhere else to take the minutes from. I mean, if you're going to be playing a guy 16 minutes and not playing him down the stretch of either half, you already know, like, you've known for quite some time that you can't play this guy. So just do the right thing, do what makes sense, and put the best basketball team on the floor as many minutes as possible. I like the idea of bringing Frank in toward the end of Trey's minutes just to come in there and throw him off in spurts. I like the way that Frank is. I mean, that he's been using Frank situationally, at least for possessions, even calling him up off the bench. Like, hey, like, Frank got a deflection. Frank got a steal today at the end of the third quarter. He was out there for like 4 seconds, and as soon as the play started, he got a steal. But RJ didn't realize how much time he had, so he's about to try to draw it from half court. But just him having the ability to make those plays. So I really think he should definitely be used against Trae Young, though, because that length and even the way he fights through screens, the way he stays attached to guys, I just think that, he can disrupt. Because, like I said, their offense starts and goes through Trae Young completely. So it's like, if you can neutralize him as much as possible, if you can frustrate him, if you can, keep him contained, then you do a great job of like, throwing a wrench in the cog of their offense. So I definitely hope we use Frank in these minutes. Hopefully, I would really like to see the minute distribution. First of all, I said it after the other game after the Hornets game. Derrick Rose and Mayo quickly should never combine for less than 48 minutes. Doesn't make any sense. Mayo quickly played 24 that game, but it was because he played all 5 minutes of overtime. But like in regulation, Derrick Rose had 25 minutes and Emmanuel quickly had 19. And it's just like, so we wasted 16 minutes or whatever Alfred had of this guy being on the court while we had our two best point guard options play less than a full game, and they ran out there together sometimes. It doesn't make any sense. So we need to try to lean into that as much as possible. And we just got to have guys on the floor that are going to be able to score. And I think that we have to have Derrick Rose in the game down the stretches. I've noticed the last couple of games he hasn't necessarily been out there. And I think in that Hornets game, that hurt us a lot because we didn't score for the last 4.5 minutes. And I feel like Derrick Rose could have helped with that. Another guy that we can go to. I think a lot of times we end up going through Randall because we don't have a real point guard on the floor. And we'll be going through Randall in those situations where the defense is loading up on him rather than like going through Derrick Rose and having like a pick and roll, and they got a switch, and now Randall's attacking and shifting defense and things like that. So I just feel like we should, try to close games out with Derrick Rose.
The Burke starting note was a decent one, Mike. I don't mind. My point is, however you want to do it, like I think almost any way that they do it is well enough. Like Burks makes well enough sense because we've seen him play some lead guard minutes, and we know that he's a obvious, very accurate shooting threat, both catch and shoot and off the dribble. He was killing them today off the dribble, but that would make plenty of sense. For me, going into the playoffs, I just like the idea of like Derrick Rose leading the Tom Thibodeau offense. I mean, Randall would still lead the offense, but be the point guard out there starting with that group in the playoffs, and with the defense that he's been playing, the offensive upside. I feel like I would trust that, and just like Burks keep doing his thing off the bench, just keep cooking. But either way, I feel like you can't really lose at this point. It's just the jig is up. The jig is up. But my only other real worry, because I actually really like the way we match up with the Hawks. I haven't seen many people saying anything about the Knicks not being able to handle the Hawks. I've seen a couple Knicks fans complaining about that. I don't know if I'm just not following some like Hawks trolls or something, but Julius Randle like abuses the Hawks. Like, I don't know if anybody could pull the numbers up or ask them real quick.
40 twice against them. He had 40 apiece twice. So just like beats the dog shit out of them. Like, no offense, but like John Collins is food for Julius Randle. Food. Look, it's right there. It's on the board. Food. I mean, what do you like? I get Capella, right? Like, I'm not trying to downplay things, but it's like my only like real worry is like DeAndre Hunter potentially on RJ Barrett. This is the only thing that I spent time thinking about. Now, DeAndre Hunter hasn't been healthy. He hasn't really looked that good since he's been back either time. But if he's healthy for this run, this series, and the playoffs with the Knicks, I don't know that it's anything that RJ couldn't overcome. I just think like those sort of longer wings, he sometimes has issues with, at least initially. So, they're almost the same size. I think RJ's like 6'6", 210-ish, 15-ish, something like that. DeAndre Hunter's like 6'7", right? Something like that. Almost 230, 225, 230. I think he's got a longer wingspan than RJ. It's close. But that's like my only thing. I wouldn't say that I'd be fearful of, but I would have some concern about, because the Randall John Collins thing I'm not worried about at all. Capella with Noel there is like I'm interested to see what happens, because they've both been nuts this year, to be honest with you. Capella's been really special this season. He came on really strong to close out the season. That's why they went and won so many games. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not like overly worried. I think we just match up pretty well across the board. And if RJ can deal with some of that physicality and the length of Hunter, I think we'll be in decent shape, assuming number 6 isn't playing or his leash is as short as it's been. I just don't want this season, the what if, to be what if we just didn't play Alfred Payton, because it's so obvious and it's just like so avoidable. But producer Dom provided the stats. Julius Randle this season against 37.3 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, 6.7 assists,
Food.
59% from the floor, 50 from three. He had 40, 40, and 28 against them in those three. All wins, by the way. So I feel very good. I think this is, I didn't want to face, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was talking cash shit about, oh, I don't care, I'm facing the Bucks. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really didn't want to face a good defensive team right out the gate. I'd rather face like a team that's like, where Randall's going to have an easier time. Even Obi, like Obi's not going to have a tough time scoring in the second against their second unit, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But
On some real shit, I was worried if we played the Bucks for Julius. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna keep it a buck, no pun intended. But like do we remember the games against the Bucks? Like the first game, great, obviously blew him out. The second game, the things that they did to Julius to make his life difficult with sending the help and the way that they would sort of wall him off early. Like Julius likes to catch the ball and then get comfortable and then make a decision. And they'd like, as he's catching the ball, sort of already be there, like the help would already be waiting. And he had some real issues. And I don't trust the Bucks in the playoffs, but I trust their defense in the first round, and that's not something that I wanted Julius to have to deal with. And I'm just glad that we get the Hawks at least, because this is a team that he's had not just like some success against. He's had, I don't know that you could have more success against the team than Julius Randle has had against the Hawks.
And not only Julius, I feel like RJ, because the DeAndre Hunter matchup is like, on paper, but I feel like there's something about RJ just because of who he is. Like, like when we play the Hawks, RJ always plays really well. He gets up for those games. Like, he sees Cam Reddish on the other side. DeAndre Hunter was drafted right after him. I think that like RJ just has this chip on his shoulder, like where he's going to, like, I feel like that'll be a big part of it. Like, let's make sure nobody thinks DeAndre Hunter's on my level by the end of this series. I see that for RJ Barrett. I just feel it. Like, I don't worry about that. I feel like he's going to be huge in this series. I think he's going to create a lot of separation in those conversations, just in case there are any.
Yeah, and his quote in the post game, Reed Goldsmith, who was covering for the Knicks, it just made me very excited for what's to come. He said on making the postseason, before I got drafted, this is something I envisioned. This is something I wanted to do. I've always said I'm a winner. I just had a feeling that I was going to be able to be part of a team to get to the playoffs. Like, that's the mentality that sold me on RJ before he was a Knick, and it's what's selling me on him not having sustained struggles. Like, he might have one game where Hunter puts him in a bind, but I think he's smart enough and definitely resilient enough to adjust. So I'm not really worried about him or Randall, but less defense, the better, man. I'm not really worried. The only thing that does seriously worry me is Capella and the offensive boards, just because the Knicks have really struggled without Mitch on the offensive glass. So that's like where the game could, like a tight game could swing the Hawks' way. I think that would be why. But like I said, I think we have home court advantage. And like I said before the pod, we're playing in Atlanta, so it's always a home game for New York and Atlanta. So I think everything's falling in rightly where we can at least start to think about, we might actually have more than 7 more games left in the season.
So yeah, I want second round, man. Like now that we got to the point where, we're happy to be here. We got that out of our system. We locked it in. We got the home court, and I think we should have today to at least feel good and celebrate that we can move on, But to me, we talked about in the last pod, but I felt like if we got the Hawks, to me, we got to get second round. I feel like that's the way that I look at it now. Not that this season would be a failure. This season could never be a failure by any extent, but it would be disappointing if we were to lose to the Hawks for me, for sure. I think, they've been really good. I think you match up well. I think you got to, again, this is the NBA playoffs. They had pretty similar seasons. Anything could happen. But man, the Knicks get into the second round in an overachieving year. And then, like, to me, like, then you're obviously going to play a Nets, a Buck, whoever, and then whatever happens, and you go from there. But who would they play if they move to the second round?
Philly. And I want it.
I want Brooklyn, man. That would have been so fun.
Brooklyn would have been fun. I would have wanted Brooklyn, but Philly, I understand, because Philly, I feel like we still haven't beaten them. I think we need to talk about that. Ben Simmons has never lost to the New York Knicks.
That's
not-
crazy. That is insane.
So yeah, so not that means we're gonna get swept or anything because the playoffs are different, but I don't know. I mean, Embiid's been nuts. I think that's I don't want to get ahead of myself, obviously, but Philly would be tough because they're a half court team. They like to do some of the same kind of stuff we do. It would be like a bloodbath. It'd be a fight to the death.
I'd want Philly. Just because I feel like one, yeah, they swept us this year, but like those, like three of them were by like 1 point, and that one was literally given to them by the refs, where they called the foul on Julius at the end of the game, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And I think if the second round, the way Tibbs was speaking on Mitch, it didn't sound like he was going to be back like to begin the playoffs or anything like that. But I think we make it to the second round, Mitch comes back. I think that helps a lot with Embiid. That helps a lot with the Embiid matchup. Not that Mitch is going to lock him up or anything, but it's a lot more size. You can, throw Mitch out there on him. And I think that if you give Tom Thibodeau 7 games to game plan against a guy who's not going to shoot a 3-pointer, I think that, we can make some things happen. And like, if it's going to be a bloodbath, like that's kind of our game. Like, so let's have a bloodbath. And it's the second, at that point, we're the team that's playing with nothing to lose. Once we get to the second round against Philly, they're number 1 seed. We're the team playing with nothing to lose. And I just think that we honestly match up pretty well with them, even though, what Ben Simmons did to RJ the first time we played them, like had me nervous for a little while. But then when RJ played him again and he just like bounced back, I was like, okay, cool. Like, so, I mean, I would love to see Philly in the second round. I think that, I'm not saying we would win it, but I think that we definitely would have a shot. And I want all the smoke.
Oh, a real quick non-playoff note. Earlier in the pod, how I said every time I go to scroll, there's a new stat. And every time I see a stat, it's always fun. NBA.com/stats tweeted out 24.1 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game. Julius Randle is the first New York Knicks player in franchise history to average 20 plus points per game, 10 plus rebounds, and 5 plus assists for a season. And if I'm not mistaken, he shot 40% from 3 in addition. And I believe him and Larry Bird are the only players to do such a thing.
Like, what more can you say? What more can I say?
We're not prisoners of the moment. This is like easily one of the best Knicks seasons I'll probably ever see. Right?
It is. It is. Okay. So the best Knicks seasons individually, the best one was Melo 2012-13. If you're looking at individual play plus the team success, right? Because Melo individually, statistically, was like better actually in 2013-14, but the team, underachieved dramatically for reasons that we don't need to even speak on before I rant on this podcast about something no one wants to hear again.
All positivity.
Yeah. Okay. So there was that, but aside from that, it was like the first half of 2014-15 for Melo was good, but the team again was a lottery team. They were horrible. Before that, what really? Right? It was, then you go back to Ewing.
90-91, he averaged like 4 blocks, 20-something points, I think, double-digit rebounds. But like you're going all the way back to literally 1990.
Yeah. So if you got to jump this many, like that's what I mean. If it's been that long of a wait, like it's not a prisoner of the moment thing because it's just the truth. If you haven't had that many good players having that many good seasons for your team over the last couple of decades, it just is one of the better and more important ones. And obviously, if you haven't already, make sure you read Mike's piece on that on the knickswall.com, sort of regarding Randall's season as a whole and why it's a truly special season. Not just a fun, overachieving season, like a true special season, because those stats aren't just like, oh, he had one good year or he had a good contract. People make jokes and shit. Like, to me, this is sustainable. That's my biggest thing with Julius. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I look at his game now, I'm just like, yeah, he's just going to do that every night for the rest of his career now. I don't know what to, because it's not like overly difficult shit. Like, he's not like scoring 50 points a night. He's just scoring 20, 25 to 30 points a night, bunch of assists, bunch of rebounds. It's just like, yeah, I don't see, unless he forgot how to shoot again, I can't see why this wouldn't be some kind of sustainable. This is a legitimate all NBA caliber player moving forward now, in my opinion. And it should be for everybody's opinion.
Yeah. And funny thing, real quick, if you guys go back to his hoop mixtape, or I think his Ball is Life, and you look at his high school highlights, it's literally the same exact way that he's scoring right now, like literally identical. Because I was shocked. I was like, oh, what did his hoop mixtape look like? Because usually you see like John Wall's had a classic one. So I turned on Julius's. Dude, it was literally the 3-point shot, that little step back from the side that he loves so much.
Mm-hmm.
The dunking, the dishing. It was just crazy. I was like, wow, he was always this player. He just really perfected it this year. So I'm more bullish on Julius than I've ever been. And like I said, blank check.
He's our Chris Webber. It's beautiful. But yeah, like I think I lost my thought. Oh no. I don't think that's ever happened to me on here.
It's okay. It's happened to me many times. I'm going to try to jog your memory real quick for the folks. So Julius Randle leading the team, the playmaking, the dishing, the all around stuff.
Thank you so much. It's only up from here, I think. I think that, like this is his last year. He said it was his first year being the number one guy. This is his second year doing it, first year under a new coach. I think that everybody, as his teammates, we have a young core around him. As his teammates improve, and grow, he will continue to grow. I think that every once in a while, like sometimes he can let the ball go a second earlier before the double team comes. I think that's something that gets better next year. I think that 6 assists maybe even becomes 7 or 8 assists. Like, you never know. And the jumper, I think that Julius Randle is just a 40% 3-point shooter now. I don't think, maybe not 42%, maybe not 40 on the dot, but I don't think it's going to fall below 38. Like, he just consistently shoots well. He improves every year and he works insanely hard. And he doesn't strike me as the type of guy to be like, okay, well, I had a great season, so I can relax now. Like, he's going to be doing the same things that he's always done. And I feel like he's going to be even hungrier to improve now. Like, yeah, I think that this is not only is this Julius, but yeah, at 26, like we got a few more years of him being amazing. And I don't think it's going to be tailing off. I think if anything, it's going to improve. So it's going to be very exciting. We really have an all NBA talent. Like, that's our guy.
Not on his work ethic note with the shooting. We've seen like the videos that get posted and stuff, but like he really does spend an incredible amount of time shooting those threes because I've covered a number of games, and before the games you'll see Randle. Even last year, I got phones of my video. It's just him, lots of threes, one after one that chucking him the ball. And he's really working on it, from deep, not just right at the line. He's taking steps back, doing a couple of setback moves. This is stuff he's always been trying to work on, and for a bigger guy, maybe sometimes it's harder to fine tune it the right way and polish it the right way. I mean, he's a big, strong guy, and he's already pretty nimble. And just, look how much better he looks in the time off he had from the canceled season last year, the longer off season, to coming into this year. I mean, he looks, way better, and he looked good last year. That's the wild thing. He came in the last season looking like in better shape than he did in New Orleans. And now he looks even better once again. So it's like for these guys, sometimes it's like it really takes a lot of time to mold and get that part of their game right. Because like I agree with Shaun. Like, I don't think he's going to shoot under like league average ever again. Like, league average is like 36, 37% from deep, right? So to me, even if he's not 40, which again, that happens. Some seasons you're not going to shoot the way that you would like to shoot. Sometimes it's a little bit lower, but I don't think it's going to get lower than like 38% or so. Remains to be seen, but I just can't. I don't know how you do this for 70 games and then suddenly it's not that moving forward to some degree.
Especially when it's the same spots on the floor too, because
it's his hot zones, man. He loves it.
He's always been good at the top of the key, always been. So it's just him. I feel like he finally became the player that everyone thought he was going to be, and he started shooting. Don't forget, he started adding the 3-point shot to his NBA bag 2 years ago in New Orleans. So that's another thing to feel good about. I really don't think, like you guys said, I don't see his 3-point percentage dipping below 37%. I really don't.
You know what I think is the most hilarious part about Randle being good was when Zion was coming out of school and they were saying like, oh, Zion's going to be, Julius Randle with hops. And then everyone kind of like laughed a little bit. And then even coming into this year, when I saw that tweet come back up, people would say stuff like, yeah, but Zion supposedly could do, stuff with the ball a little bit better and, move a little bit better, like things like that maybe Randle's a little bit more clunky. And then I was like, I guess you have a point after watching him last season. And then this season, it's like Randle's development plus they started trying to do a lot of point Zion in New Orleans. And I was like, it's just funny how like that in different ways that tweet got like made fun of or like, dunked on, like from Knicks fans, from NBA people, like in whichever way you took it or read it. And it's like, it's just funny how like both their careers are like kind of coming, and not that, they're the same because they're much different, but it's funny how like they both added the playmaking elements much more like quickly. And they were ready to compare it against players. It's funny how things came full circle this year. I feel like we got a lot of closure on things.
Let's start calling Zion Julius Randle without a jump shot.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's start doing that.
Yes, that's the move, my friend.
Let's flip the script.
Love that.
What else? All right. So what else do we got here? You guys want to do mailbag? Should we do mailbag?
Yeah, let's get some mailbag in.
Let's go for it.
All right, let's do a little mailbag. So, from at Return of Maggio. So,
all right, we'll just skate over the name.
I'm just gonna skate over the name, buddy. Give us an explanation at least. I just curious now. He asked about the rebounding versus Capella. How do we guard the weapons on it? All those weapons that Atlanta has, like trapping Trey, which, we touched on Trey earlier, but if you guys want to touch on some of the other guys like John Collins or whatnot, any offensive struggles we might have in the half court, like especially with RJ, and in the fourth quarter, can Randle be that closer? So, Shaun, I'll lob it up to you first. Take your pick.
We're going to have to rebound. That's one huge thing. We're going to have to box out. Capella's great on the boards, and he's going to get some of the boards even when you do box out. So we're definitely going to have to make sure that we are making a concerted effort because they're a team that likes so many perimeter shots and things like that. We can't get killed by the second chance points to get kicked out for threes. That would just, that's demoralizing, especially after like really good defensive possessions. Also, I'm not really too worried about John Collins or like their other options. Those guys can play. John Collins having a good season. You can't just let him go off. But like I said, the key to the offense is Trae Young. They go as Trae Young goes. And if you cut out the head, the snake will die. So I just feel like we scheme really well and we make life hell for Trae Young. He's not going to be able to get his teammates involved. It won't be able to get an offensive flow going. And the, DeAndre Hunters and the John Collins and the Kevin Herters of the world don't really do much to you. Like, I'd love to see them try to beat me in a playoff series with John Collins. Good luck.
Yeah, I second everything Shaun just said, but I will also add the caveat of, for the half-court offense, I think any worry is solved with removing Elf from the rotation. I think it'll be a lot more fluid, so I think that'll help. The rebounding front, I think Tibbs has to get a little more creative. Maybe have Reggie guard more on the perimeter, have RJ and Randle down low to help Noel, just because I feel like Noel hasn't gotten a lot of offensive boards, not because it's own fault, just because he's literally the only one down there. So that's probably the only part that they really have to address, and I'm sure Thibodeau will, because he has a full week. And yeah, like with Trey, I think, you just got to cut him off. I think if it gets to it, I would literally play Frankie 30 minutes if he proves effective against Trae Young. It could be those games where if he sees Frank's doing well or decent on offense, you just ride it out. And I think Thibodeau's hasn't done well with playing the hot hand, but down the stretch, hopefully he does.
I agree on Shaun's note, though, about the scheming. I think in the way I always look at the playoffs, this is the point I was trying to make to Eli and Slack earlier this week about the Bucks, when he was like, oh, you can't just leave. If we were to have played them, he's like, oh, you can't just leave Brook Lopez out there. And I'm like, I mean, you're right. You don't want to just leave him wide open, but if we're going to make someone on the Bucks beat us in a playoff series, like, I'd rather it be Brook Lopez than I'd rather, I don't want Drew or Giannis or Middleton going off, like I would much rather, like, oh man, Brook Lopez had 27 points, hit a bunch of threes. Oh no. I mean, well, what are the chances he's going to keep doing it? You know what I mean? Like, same thing. That's the way I look at the Hawks. Like, these guys are capable. Sure. Nobody's sleeping on them, but you got to prioritize. So you got to leave certain guys open by design. And it's not excellent always. These are always capable shooters and players who are going to be able to score or whatever. It's why they're in the playoffs. These teams are all very good now, especially when you're dealing with like top 6 teams. But I think if you take out Trey, if you trap Trey, you make his life miserable. And we've seen that happen sometimes with guards. Not saying it's going to happen with Trey, but it could if they do it the right way. And if that happens, then there's not going to be a lot of offense there. You know what I mean? These are the guys that are benefactors of Trey oftentimes. These are guys that are John Collins is always getting these lobs and these open shots because wherever Trae is, the gravity that he has. So if you figure out Trae, and it's a tough task, it's not some easy thing like, oh, just shut down Trae. It's a tough thing because, he might pull up from 40 feet. That's the other issue. You're not playing on traditional dimensions with a player like Trae. As much as, we got to talk about the foul baiting and stuff that he could also, really use to his favor. We know that's coming. We've seen it because him and Quickly have had these little foul off battles with each other too. So we know that there's that. But yeah, I just worry like he's gonna stretch the floor with the shooting. Like he might come down, shoot before the trap even gets there. If he's on fire, then all right, and now we're in for it. Now we got to really buckle down. But that's got to be the game plan. However you figure it out, however you got to try to blitz him when he comes across half court, figure it out. Get the ball out of his hands quickly, and if he gets it back later in a possession, make something happen. Okay, but I think that's got to be the plan. Moving right along in the mailbag here, I'll pull up the next question from our pal Dom. Okay, so at 67 Tortugas, what's the offensive strategy? Late game hold on mode, and ISO Randall doesn't look all that good all that often. I think this is probably regarding today's game. Mike, I'll lob that one up to you. I mean, what do you make of what their late game and clutch situation offense is?
It's still developing, that's a very good question because I don't know what the best attack is right now because I think you do want to slow it down just because Trae is, if things start to go really fast, you don't want to get in a track meet with Trae Young. But also the half-court offense has left a lot to be desired, especially late in games where he's right, where it's kind of just turned into Randall or bust. Like the Lakers game, they had a chance and Randall actually got a good look that time. But there was never really any doubt on where that ball was going. So I understand that question. I think I would still feed Randall for this series just because I think him against John Collins is too enticing of a matchup. So I think you just play into that. And RJ's going to have his troubles with Hunter. So I think you just go there or Rose. I think Rose should start getting some closing shots because he's shooting 50% from the floor this season, and he's going to have Trae Young on him more times than not. So I would just really attack whoever Trae's guarding, especially late in the half court.
Yeah, I definitely think we should be attacking Trae. That's why I also when we have those late lineups, whether it's Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, RJ, Randall, and Noel, it's just like he's got to guard somebody out there. And I think that especially in the 7-game series, you just got to attack that. Like you can't. I'm not letting them hide the Trae anywhere. I'm trying to get him switched on to RJ and get RJ in the post. All of that, like take advantage of it because that put him in position to be in foul trouble as well because the foul baiting is coming. Like, unfortunately, we know it's coming. Hopefully, the refs, the playoffs are normally officiated differently, but we've been getting our ass kicked by the officials for a large part of the year. And Trae has been getting whatever he wants from them. So that doesn't really bode well. But, hopefully they allow us to play playoff basketball. They allow it to just be basketball. And, we need to attack Trae 100%. Wherever he is on the floor, I want to be going at him almost every possession. Trying to get in that pick and roll with him, use him, try to get switched on to Randall, make them have to scramble a whole lot. That's why I like him. I would like to have IQ in the game because, you've got to switch that because you can't go under it. So we got to do things like that. Like put them in position where he's got to come outside defensively. You're not hiding him. He's coming outside.
Yeah, pretty much. And on that note, our next question anyway was about Trae getting that sort of superstar whistle. Best thing I could say is I want to get too caught up on refs killing us or whatever it is that every team feels like the refs hate their favorite team. Like that's just how it works. And any given night, you go down the timeline and somebody's complaining about the officiating, about the calls their team never gets. It's the reality of being an NBA fan because the refs do stink. They stink across the board. They stink for everybody almost all the time. And in addition to them stinking, the rules are backwards and bizarre. They made it impossible to play perimeter defense if you breathe on a guy, as we've seen with like a Trae or even a Quickly, because we've gotten the benefit when he gets real minutes and can play comfortably, you know, those kinds of guys get to the line a lot. It's the rules stink. And there was a rumor this week that they're going to look at, you know, this offseason, trying to tweak that being a foul with the unnatural shooting motion. And they should, man, because look, it makes no sense that if you go inside the paint, you could be physical, use your forearms, whatever. But then if you go outside the paint and you're a guard, I can't even think about raising my arms near you because it's going to be a foul. It makes no sense. They just, it's basketball. This should not be that difficult. You know what I mean? But in terms of Trae getting the superstar whistle, yeah, you got to worry about it. It's just, it is what it is. He's really good at it. He's really good at it. Harden, even in the playoffs, was getting to the line a lot. When these guys are really good at it, you got to worry about it. It's an extra element of the game now. If they know how to manipulate to get to the free throw line, sadly, I hate it, but it's a skill. They know how to do it. They know how to do it. It generates points. It's gross when it's overused, especially when some of the motions are definitely not natural. I agree, but you got to just try to limit it and play good defense. That's the only thing I can really say. Just don't be handsy. Even like I like using Frank, right? That was my plan. Use Frank, blitz him. Frank is extremely handsy, extremely. Like one of his big defensive flaws is that he's always sort of reaching and kind of getting in trouble, especially on drives with players. So it's like, you know, we're really going to have to watch for that. These guys got to really not use their hands, like really play good defense, keep their hands up and away from Trae. And like, really, like when he goes to shoot, like you got to almost fall backwards away from him because you don't want to. The last thing you need too, he's got the touch that a lot of these can be 3-point plays. Like there's a lot of ways that this guy can kill you inside the paint, outside the paint. He's got the floater. Like it could really be a long night for them if they're not getting the calls. So the best thing is to just try to mitigate that. Like anticipate when he's going to do it. You know, at some point on the drive, he's going to try to do a little herky jerk, take a step back, like try to pull the chair out from under him type thing. Like let him be a little bit more open than he might be used to there. I don't know. Switch it up. It's tough. It's a tough thing to do. Guarding a guy like that. I don't know.
I think that might be the biggest storyline, at least in game one, is how the refs treat Trae. Because don't forget, this is his first playoff game too. So he's not used to how the game's called. So I'm interested to see if they keep that same level of protection for him, you know? So if it gets physical, I want to see if he checks out.
Yeah, I hope they allow us to be at least somewhat physical with him. And because that's the thing, like not only does it get him to the line, but in a playoff game, especially, every minute counts. It's like if everybody on the floor is in foul trouble because Trae Young is running around and falling down, that's going to be really, really annoying. So I mean, I just really hope. But yeah, we've never seen him in the playoffs. So hopefully, it's just I don't want the games to be decided at the free throw line. I don't want the games to be decided by the refs. Like I want them to have to come outside and play basketball for 48 minutes. And if they have to come outside and play basketball for 48 minutes, I think we're gonna bust their ass. I'm thinking 5 games, 6 tops.
So on that note, the last thing on the Hawks series here is, what do you think that this is from at Scott J Katz? What do you think the biggest key for us to win is if it does end up being us versus the Hawks in round 1, which it now is? Aside from the number 6 dilemma, which we always have to note because it is objectively the number 1 biggest issue / key if we were to, you know, amend that situation properly for the probably 10,000th time on this podcast this season. But for me, the biggest key is actually RJ, and not just like, oh, RJ's got to play well. RJ's got to play consistent for 48 minutes of basketball. I love RJ. I'm the biggest RJ fan. I'm wearing an RJ Barrett jersey right now. I've been touting him since who knows how long we've done these victory laps for at this point. We can't have 7 games of just second half RJ Barrett is my thing. Like he's got to put together a couple of full games. But I'm not saying he's allowed to adjust. It's his first playoffs too. I'm not trying to say like, he's got to be great every single game or else, he's a bust. He looks bad, whatever. But, it's just the rational expectation is, a lot of the heat's going to be on Randall, right? Whatever the Hawks, they're not a great defensive team, but whatever they're trying to do on him, he's going to be the main focus. So is RJ going to be making them pay enough? If the three's working, then we're probably have nothing to worry about. But even to close the season out, there was a bunch of slow first halves from him still, which it's not a cause for concern as a whole, because normally the end of the game, he has a nice line and he puts it all together and things are generally okay. But in the playoffs, again, things are a little bit different and you have less room for those kinds of errors. You have less rooms for those slow starts. And if you have those slow starts, they might, approach you defensively a different way. So for me, if RJ's just got to have more consistent production in his minutes a little bit earlier in the game. And if we get that, I feel like that's the biggest key.
Yeah, because if you look at his win-loss splits, he's a completely different player when they're losing. He's averaging 15.9 compared to 18.7 when they win. And his shooting numbers across the board, when he's off, the team suffers. I mean, in wins, he's shooting 44% from three. So Julius needs that second fiddle. And if he struggles one game, I think they could get by with it. But if this becomes a problem in round one, then the Knicks might be in a little bit of trouble.
I think we're a very tough team to beat when RJ Barrett is playing well. And because you're going to get what you're going to get from Randall. And when RJ's playing well, it means you have both of them going. It opens the floor up for everyone else. And it's just like an energy kind of behind RJ playing well, like as fans, as a team. I love today seeing him get out in transition and like be able to get those post touches and finish things like that. So hopefully we give him those kind of opportunities because I feel like those things help him to get going. Like, if you're only like, I want to be able to see him do that. Like if he can get out in transition and get some better shot attempts, rather than having to attack the defense and hope he gets a call and miss a couple shots at the rim. Now he's out of rhythm. Like, put him in easy situations early in the game. And that way, you set him up moving forward. Cause we do need 48 good minutes of basketball from RJ. Like you can't have just second halves. Like this is the playoffs. Every single quarter is a game. Like we keep saying, every minute counts. So we need it. And that's going to be our main thing. Like that, I like that. RJ showing up is going to be the biggest difference because, like I said, RJ's played well against the Hawks so far, and I think that if they already don't have an answer for Randall, so if they have issues with Randall and RJ between Rose, Burks, Quick, you're bound to get somebody like that's the other cool thing about it. Like our bench and whoever's. I don't even know if it's going to be our bench. I hope it's not. Rose, Quick, and Burks should not all be on the bench. One of them should be starting, but. Either way, with those guys, you're going to get production out of at least one of them. Like one of them is going to be on tonight. One of them is going to get it going. Like when you have all three of them, it's very rare that all three of them don't show up.
Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty much it for me. On like the Hawks note, I think RJ, yeah, he has played well this season against them. Thankfully, that's what I'm saying. Like they don't scare me in that sense because like Randall played like so well against them, and RJ played well enough where I'm like, I mean, we could obviously lose. I don't want to ever make it sound like anything's easy, but for us to really like the key for it to be like a clear like Knicks winning 6 pretty convincingly, like RJ's got to be on. If RJ's on, if he's playing well, and I agree with you too, Shaun, about the energy because like Randall sort of has this like quiet sort of like confidence, but it's mostly just like in himself where he's just like, I'm pulling up because I'm feeling it. That's it. And he sort of just like looks and stares you down. The only time you saw him get like outwardly confident and emotional was when he was playing the Lakers, and for good reasons. His old team playing in LA, and he was on fire too. It was a nice little battle between him and AD. But RJ's different with the way he gets fired up because like he looks very intently after he scores. Like he always likes to look around and like it's almost like a fuck you thing. Like he scores and he's like every time it's almost like why like he cuts through the paint, 2 guys hit him, he bangs around, makes the layup, and he's like these fucking idiots. Like, that's like the vibe that you get. And it's like when you watch that, especially as us as like New Yorkers, you're like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, fuck those guys. Like, what are these idiots doing? Like, that's like, and especially when it's your own guy that you drafted too, it makes it even better. So like, you already believe in him because you drafted him, and then like he gives you the right energy when he's on like that. So, yeah, I mean, if he's doing that, I mean, they're going to the second round. It's not just that they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to the second round if he's playing a full game like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing it because he keeps elevating himself season to season or game to game or month to month. I got to see what he's going to give me in the playoffs now. I hope it's, what we think it'll be. I think that's actually it for our mailbag questions. But you guys got any other pressing topics on your mind before we get out of here?
Just bench Elf. That's my only topic.
Please.
We're asking nicely, man. I'm trying to win some playoff games here.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to, but like I said, this is rare territory. This is officially the longest we've actually had to pay attention to a basketball season in 8 years. So it's a good feeling. It feels weird to say playoff basketball is coming up, but on Saturday, we'll watch a Knicks playoff game at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
My
so
emotions.
yeah, I still can't believe it, man. Home court at MSG just sounds like it's a nice bow to cap a really fun regular season. Like if we got a 6, like I would have been excited, but four knowing the first game is going to be at MSG is like
Game 1 in the Garden.
just going to sleep happy type of thing. So on that note, though, this is the first time in the Knicks wall history that we've ever made the playoffs. So big thank you to everybody who's followed us for the 5 poverty seasons leading up to this. Appreciate it. We got a lot of stuff in store for you coming up. So, definitely make sure you're following us on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Post Game Prosperity and everything with Shaun. Always a blast over there. Always a good time after the games, all the W's upcoming in the playoffs. So it's going to be a madhouse over there. So make sure you subscribe and lock it in there. On top of that, we're just going to announce it now. So we're having our playoff sale for our merchandise. So go to designtree.com/the Knicks wall and you can pick up. I mean, we have some lovely things that we've been putting out lately across the board. We have a couple more designs we're getting up tonight for the sale, but check it out. Order some stuff. It should get there in time for the playoffs. Ideally, if you guys are going to order the next couple days. But I have more details on Twitter, so make sure you're following us there, of course. But that's pretty much it. Keep reading the knickswall.com. Keep going. Best articles, best breakdowns, best features. And make sure you guys are giving this podcast a 5-star rating and review because we're in a good mood. We've been positive. We've been saying some nice things about your favorite basketball team, and maybe you could say some nice things about your favorite podcast. So give us a nice review and a nice 5-star rating. It helps us keep doing what we do here, and we like doing this for you guys. So on that note, Mike, Shaun, you got anything else?
Once again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, read the articles. It's been a blast. Post-game prosperity was crazy for the regular season, so imagine what the energy is going to be for the playoffs. No, don't imagine. Show up and be a part of the energy.
Yeah.
Also, no, go ahead.
No, and also we got a ton of playoff articles coming this way on the writing side, so be on the lookout. Myself, Quentin Haynes, a couple others will be dropping some playoff stuff. Get ready for the first game on Saturday, so make sure you're at the knickswall.com to check all those out.
I got one fun bonus game for you guys before we get out of here. It's called Guess the Price of the Knicks playoff tickets right now.
All right, what section?
This is section 214, row 13. I'm looking at. Take a wild guess.
$5.50.
Shaun, what about you?
I was going to say like 415.
415? Yeah. So how's 923 sound?
What?
Yo, now who's really gonna pay? First of all, if anyone's been to MSG, once you get to the 200 levels, it's already like I should already be watching this game at the bar or at home, just because the Chase Bridge is there and the vibe's a little off.
The next ticket, section 223, row 22, 9 rows back further, is 949, and then section 223, row 21 is 1,001 American dollars. And my favorite part, if you can see on the screen, is they have a little rating next to them, and all three say 10.0, 9.6, 9.6. Amazing deal.
That's sad.
Wow.
I knew that would happen, but my God.
Oh, yeah. So I'm definitely not going to a playoff game at the Garden. That's unfortunate.
Maybe we could group share a ticket,
Each rotate in and out.
Yeah, just like a quarter each, like that guy at the Mets games getting banned for.
No.
Passing the
really
tickets
ridiculous.
back.
Come
You
on.
gotta wear a really long trench coat.
Vincent Adult, man.
I hope the season ticket holders who showed up this whole time at least got like first dibs and got a decent deal, because that's like, all
my-
jokes aside, that's ridiculous.
To my understanding, they did. The season ticket holders did, but I
Okay.
just don't. I just don't get how you can, in good faith, charge $900.
I didn't pay that much for the Yankee playoff tickets,
bro.
And,
I
like,
mean,
that's like,
I've paid top dollar for some good tickets sometimes, and you look at that, and my living room is just fine, bro. Like, I'll be okay here. I can't. No, nobody's spending a mortgage payment for one game. That's wild. But that was my last game for you. Thankfully, I got the information right in time. That was a very fun game. I'm glad we played that at the end. All right, but on that note, let's go next. Last thing I'm going to say is we're going to try to get some sort of Atlanta Hawks coverage in here. I'd like to get a non-Knicks take on the Hawks, because mine are always going to be bullish. So we'll try to get somebody on here for you guys so we could have a good conversation back and forth, try to preview the series for you for upcoming here. But that's about it. We'll talk to you guys next time. Take it easy.
Adios.
peace.